Seeing a Ferrari like this in Formula One is painful. One cannot say otherwise when expectations were quite different. In this telemetry analysis of the red car, we will also include data from Kimi Antonelli. The performance of the Italian will help us understand the current form of the Maranello-based car. Let's start by saying that Kimi Antonelli has offered another clear and unmistakable signal. He doesn't drive to make an appearance, but to make a difference. The Italian rookie drove a nearly perfect race, finishing in 6th place and scoring important points for the team. But that's not all. With the fastest lap in the race and 9 laps in the lead, he broke 2 records that belonged to a certain Max Verstappen, becoming the youngest driver to lead a Formula One race and to set the fastest lap. The performance was built on solid foundations, an incredibly long 30-lap stint on the medium tires, the longest on the grid, managed with disarming consistency. After Max Verstappen and Lando Norris, in fact, Kimi Antonelli was the 3rd fastest in the first part of the race, with an average lap time of 1 minute 33.669 seconds and a best lap even recorded on lap 28, showing that the degradation on his W16 single-seater was practically zero. After the only pit stop of the race, the trend was confirmed. The Mercedes driver was the fastest on track in the second stint, setting the fastest lap on lap 50 before finishing his race just over a second behind his teammate. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said for car number 44. After a solid first part of the race, Lewis Hamilton's attack on the 6th position stopped at lap 33 when the 7-time Formula One world champion tried an undercut on the 18-year-old from Mercedes by switching to the medium tire. However, by the second lap of his stint, Kimi Antonelli's hard tire provided more grip and performance, and Lewis Hamilton lost the use of the DRS system. From there on, a slow decline began, a 10.5-second gap by the end of the Japanese Grand Prix. The second stint was simply disastrous, which is strange considering the yellow tire is potentially more performant than the hard tire, especially in the first 15 laps. Yet, as mentioned, in the last 23 laps, the average delta to Kimi Antonelli was about 0.5 per lap. To understand what the actual limitations of the SF-25 were in the final part of the race, we decided to analyze 2 laps simultaneously from the Italian driver and Lewis Hamilton. We are talking about lap number 46. As a premise, it is important to note that there has been a lot of talk about ride heights since the start of the 2025 Formula One season. Well, could these have affected the second half of the race at the 5.807-kilometer Suzuka circuit? Because we remember that as the car consumes fuel, it naturally lightens in weight, and consequently, it rises slightly from the reference plane, possibly reaching heights that are not ideal for the proper functioning of the Ferrari single-seater. This is our hypothesis. As for the rest, there's the thermal degradation that Lewis Hamilton himself confirmed via various team radio messages. From the preliminary analysis of the telemetry, it is evident that all of Kimi Antonelli's advantage is in the first sector, and this is quite curious. Theoretically, this is the section of the track where the most grip is needed, which a softer tire compound can provide. Only in the snake section, namely from corners 2 to 7, does Lewis Hamilton lose as much as 0.519 seconds. In every single corner of the long section, the British driver has a significant speed deficit. We especially notice this in the exit of turn 6 and in the entry into turn 7, where the delta is even 9 kilometers per hour. Throughout the Suzuka weekend, the red car struggled with understeer, and this corner is clear evidence of that. Even in the race, this phenomenon was present, although it seemed much more pronounced on the British driver's car than on Charles Leclerc's, where small improvements in rotation were seen. Furthermore, the lack of grip and downforce generated on the medium Pirelli compound is also confirmed by the full throttle and full braking data, as much as 4.6% more and 5.8% less, respectively, in favor of Kimi Antonelli, indicating that the Italian was much quicker and more easily on the throttle for traction, and needed to use the brakes less, showing excellent rotation and agility. Considering the British driver's handling, the spoon section, namely corners 13-14, was the litmus test for the 7-time Formula One champion. A part of the track where it is necessary to carry as much speed as possible into the corner and through it, then try to get on the gas earlier, using all the track, and fully ride the external curb. Lewis Hamilton struggled from qualifying on Saturday, and in the race, the difference was more than clear. He even loses 8 kilometers per hour at the apex, as he is forced to use the brakes much more to slow down the car, transfer weight to the front, and aim the front end at the apex of the corner. In the exit, once again, he is late on the throttle pedal, showing a lack of traction, and then carries the disadvantage throughout the 130R section, compromising not only the second sector but also part of the third. The British driver had stated that he sacrificed qualifying performance for a race-oriented setup, but the data tells a different story. In fact, it is the exact opposite. There is certainly still much work to be done for Ferrari, and they need to study the dynamics of this SF-25 car carefully. A car that at the moment cannot extract all its potential, basically because the setups are not being optimized. In the past, Suzuka has often been one of Lewis Hamilton's strongholds, one of his favorite tracks thanks to its long sweepers and high-speed sequences that highlighted certain characteristics of his Mercedes and his driving style. But with Ferrari, the start has been slightly different, as this weekend in Japan did not bring great satisfaction, partly due to a lackluster qualifying and race compared to his Maranello teammate. The 7-time world champion only finished in 7th place, 13 seconds behind Charles Leclerc, never really being in the fight. An admission of the issues faced by Ferrari, but this weekend, his struggles to fully extract the potential from the SF-25 in fast corners that required total confidence on entry also played a part, something that had already been evident in both Shanghai and Melbourne. However, the setup gamble didn't pay off as hoped, and the choice to start on hard tires didn't work either. On a circuit where track position is crucial and overtaking a rival is rather difficult, not only because it requires a significant performance delta, but also because there is only one DRS zone, Lewis Hamilton chose a different strategic approach, starting on hards in the hope of a safety car that never came. The Briton pulled off one of the few overtakes of the race using DRS on Isaac Hadjar, who despite a strong performance on Saturday with a very competitive Racing Bulls in qualifying, did not have the same race pace as the Ferrari driver. Clearly that wasn't enough, and in the end, 7th place is just a meager consolation. Lewis struggled on both Saturday and Sunday with imperfect balance, a lot of understeer, and especially a rear end that tended to slide, in a race that heavily revolved around rear tire degradation. After qualifying, Lewis Hamilton had admitted that Charles Leclerc had probably gone slightly over the car's limits, managing to extract the maximum from the SF-25. The Monegasque then held on to 4th place despite pressure from Mercedes in the first stint, although George Russell eventually closed back in within a second and a half towards the end. The Monegasque delivered a very solid weekend and perhaps, just like Max Verstappen, was aided by track position. But beyond that, Lewis Hamilton hopes for concrete improvements in the upcoming races to extract more performance from a car that, for now, he believes represents the 4th best on the grid.